Okay, bye.
Hello. Hi, Debbie.
How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. I'll be right back.
Okay, I won't start. How's that? Well, it's still pretty much the same. There's Russ. Hi, Vic.
Hey, everybody.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Just want to say good evening. Thank you for having me. This is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
One more time, you're 917562, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm gonna name you on here so everybody recognizes. Actually, I can't.
Okay.
Sarah, would you please name Michael Kinsell?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll be back. I'm on.
Looks like Benny there too.
Hi, Benny.
Good evening.
Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Chris is here too. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Chris. How are
How
you?
are you? Good.
Very well.
Benny. How are you, Ben?
Not bad, Mr. Mayor. How are you? What shirt you
Okay.
got on? Portchester shirt? What do you got over here? What's the shirt?
Purchase College.
Ah,
Purchase College.
very nice. I like it. I'm gonna move the screen down so I can look straight ahead. There you go.
You like that shirt, Ben?
I love it.
Got a couple of golf shirts like that too.
That is a golf shirt. I
Yeah,
got a Right
couple other
Town.
golf shirts.
You got your Right Town Park Commissioner shirt still, Rich?
I still have it.
All right. Very nice.
Thanks, Bobby. I thought I was about to be hypnotized by that thing.
I gotta get my agenda here.
There's Emily.
Dan, you gotta lower this.
Hello?
Hey, Emily. You're on mute.
No, I couldn't hear you, but now I can hear you, so I'm going to go back on mute. Hi, by the way.
Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Hi, Emily.
Is everybody here?
What's my pick?
I don't see, oh, Jason's here. Josh, Benny, Fritz.
I don't see Jeff Binder.
Two, three, four, five. I don't see Emily. Where's Emily?
She's here. Come on. We did
I'm
see.
here. I just turned off my video for 1 minute.
I called Jeff.
I just dialed him.
Debbie, is the agenda online?
Hi, are you getting onto the call? Look in your calendar. It's not in your. You don't have the park commission link?
We can hear everything.
Yeah. I'm sending it to you right now. Bye.
All right, while we're getting, is there any reason we shouldn't start the meeting? It's 6:05. So Debbie, are we on Facebook Live?
It looks like we are, yes.
Okay. So the flag is behind Debbie. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This for all.
And welcome to the Rye Town Park Commission meeting of June 16th, 2020. Debbie, please call the roll.
Yes, Commissioner Falanka. Acting Commissioner Klein standing in for Commissioner Rosenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Cohn.
Here.
Commissioner Salanitro.
Here?
Commissioner Hurd.
Here.
President Zuckerman.
The first item will be adoption of the minutes of May 19th, 2020. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make
So
the motion.
Who made the motion?
Second,
Okay,
Mayor
good.
Cohn? I second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Before we get on to the management report, which is the highlight of our meeting tonight, and what's been happening at the beach, I just wanted give you a brief update on capital projects. On the seawall, we've been in communication with Homeland Security, which is our link with FEMA, and they asked for pictures. They are very excited that the state of New York is participating in completing projects. So they wanted pictures, which Debbie sent them, including a drone flyover, I believe, that we had. So they're very happy about that, and we're processing all the reimbursement money. The ramps, I am pleased to announce that the Rye City Planning Commission approved our application last week. Oh, that's not good. Anyway, there were some final adjustments to the ramp plan, but that's through the commission. And we're waiting a copy of the final resolution. Our engineer sent a copy of the final plans to them with some minor modifications. And basically, the ramp plan for the south entrance and the mid entrance are relatively the same. There are no switchbacks. It's just going parallel to the seawall. And we had submitted a plan with some switchbacks originally. You may have seen the Planning Commission thought that it went too far into the beach. They suggested that that might not be the best way. We revised it a bit, and they're very happy with it. And so are we. It's a very simple plan, which I will send a copy of the resolution and the final plans to the commissioners when we receive the resolution from the city. We hope to go out to bid sometime during the month. There's some final engineering to be done by Matt Cree, the structural engineer, and it should be ready for bid hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And so we can construct it as soon as the season is over, hopefully. So, any questions on that? That's basically the status of capital right now. We don't know when and if the CFA application will be out this year. It's obviously been delayed by the coronavirus. They may not have one this year. We don't know. We're hoping to find out, and then we'll go forward. And that's basically the capital report. No questions. Let's move on to the management report. And we've had a lot of ongoings, as you are all aware. The commissioners have discussed it. We've had some problems at the beach, as we all understand. Most of it, I think, stems from the fact that Rye Town Beach, Oakland Beach, has been the only game in town. It's the only beach open in our area. Playland next door has not been open. The beach has not been open. And yet their parking lot has been open, so people can go to places like Edith Reed. And school is out. Pools have not been open. Community pools have not been open. And so we've had a very large influx of especially young people to the beach. That has caused overcrowding. the result of which has been complaints from some of our beachgoers that social distancing was not being maintained. And we've had our rangers attempt to mollify the situation. There were a couple of instances in which the Rye City Police have been called. And on one occasion, the Westchester County Police also came into the park. We have modified our entry procedures to hopefully, if not eliminate, to certainly make considerably less the problems that we've encountered. And I'll turn it over to Debbie and Russ to further expound on that. And we have some discussion about some changes in the rules. So Debbie, I'll give it to you, and to Russ, and Vic if he wants to pipe in, and of course Mike Cancel, our security captain. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Michael Cancel, for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
That's a pleasure. So the new guidelines as put in place in the middle of last week put the park staff to the test on Friday when an unprecedented large group of teenagers arrived at the park. I would say that it became very clear very quickly that the situation was a big challenge. The park security interceded on multiple occasions to separate the group. And every time they were separated, they came back together again. An enormous amount of alcohol was confiscated. At that point, the decision was made to escalate. And we called Rye Police. Police responded, also tried to separate the group, which didn't work. At that point, the recommendation was made to clear the beach, which was done, except for a number of permit holders who were older. And the beach took, I understand it took about 45 minutes to an hour to clear. And once that was done, permit holders, adults who had bought day passes, and families were permitted back onto the beach. At that point, the teenagers coalesced on the lawn, and where they were followed by Rye PD and also Westchester County Police to control the situation, and then the group dissipated. This was a big test. And this weekend, park senior staff met before the opening of the park, made sure that they were on the same page with regard to where people were being assigned and how they were going to monitor the numbers of people who were getting onto the beach. And the day went very smoothly. The overflow parking area was opened as had been planned for permit holders. That worked well. And the groups were socially distant on the beach. And things went very smoothly. Same thing with Sunday as well. Fewer people on the beach, but also socially distant. And one of the things we learned is that while 800 is a very manageable number, which is where we were on Sunday, Russ Gold discovered or observed along with his staff that when we had slightly more on Saturday, it also worked fine. So what we've learned is it's the demographic as much as the pure number of people on the beach. What am I missing? Anything, guys?
That's about right.
Jumping the fence, you get that?
Well, there were a number of, on Friday, there were a number of kids passing their family permits through the fence and attempting to get back into the park using a second pass. That was a very small number from what I understand from Vic Federico. And we've double checked with the IT people because that shouldn't, that reused pass shouldn't work with the scanners. So we're checking the technology.
I'd like to just ask a question. I'm looking at an email up on my screen from a Rye resident on Sunday, June 14th, in which the gentleman says that he's seen the beach busy. He describes it on Saturday, the 13th, as overrun with crowds not distancing. I'm not hearing that from Russ and the rest of the park staff. He also says there seems to be cars that show up and let multiple people out, a smart workaround for avoiding the parking lot or residency requirements. He goes on to say that his parents who are elderly won't use the park anymore, and more in that vein.
There were many reports of carloads of kids being dropped off on Friday. I didn't hear anything like that on Saturday. Russ, did you observe anything like that?
No, but it's not per se, but it's common practice that people get dropped off. Not everybody would, and frankly, I don't see any way to stop that. They're entitled, right?
Yeah. I think the only and I assume they either are or are not getting on the beach appropriately, but I think that simply goes to his. I think he was citing a source of what he saw as a beach overrun with crowds not distancing on Saturday.
I can appreciate what the person was my saying, but that statement is obviously subjective. Myself and Jose and Mike, we checked on the beach as the tally numbers were coming in from the entrance booths. And they were starting to go north of 600, then north of 700, then getting to 800. Every time we got a count, which was about every 15, 20 minutes, the three of us, or sometimes just two of us, but either two or three of us, went out over the top of the seawall, and we looked and we see, is it still a safe, what we consider to be a safe and under control environment. And by all accounts, we felt it was safe, so we let it continue. Had at any point felt that it was becoming unsafe, and it was becoming overcrowded, we would have we had plans in place to just limit access to the beach. So again, I understand that for those of us that are there on a daily basis, I think we understand what our observations are more objective.
Yeah, Mayor, also I chimed in on the email because I took the liberty of going down Saturday, a little afternoon, and I spent a good amount of time talking with Russ and Mike, and I personally walked up and down the promenade myself from south to north, and I saw a totally calm environment. There were a good amount of people on the beach, but I didn't notice anything glaring as far as problems with social distancing, et cetera. And I think the staff, compliments to the staff, because I saw firsthand, they spoke to the patrons and they were speaking to them about putting on a mask. If they didn't have one, they would get one for free, et cetera. So I was expecting a little bit different atmosphere, but I found it to be extremely well-natured, and the people were doing what they needed to do. I thought it was a good afternoon that I saw.
Thank
So
you.
that's my personal experience.
Thank you. One more question, if I may. We had something that's been described as a flash mob, and I'm wondering if we thought that was coordinated or if it was simply a random gathering. And if it was coordinated, should we be watching Facebook posts and the like in order to figure out if something like that is going to be coming our way?
Debbie, do you want to
I
answer that?
spoke with, Russ, if I may, I spoke
Yeah.
with Rob Falk earlier today, and I've now learned that that particular term is very specific. And we've also learned that what happened on Friday is the final day of parochial school in Westchester. The kids all had an agreement to come to Rytown Park. I understand from Councilwoman Jackson that the parochial schools have been doing this for years. Her mother did it when she was a girl. Nobody informed us, and according to park staff, we've never had a group like that suddenly coalesce.
I might suggest, though, just add to that, because I was really, it was interesting to learn that from Debbie today, that it's a bit of a tradition, but I suggest that in prior years, there might have been a number of different places for these kids to go. But in this year in particular, there are no other opportunities. It's Rytown Park and Oakland Beach and Oakland Beach only, you know? So maybe in prior years they had multiple outlets, whether they went to Orchard Beach or Glen Island or something like that, but we're the only game in town.
Or Ride Playland.
Yeah, but Right Playland wasn't open yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but Mike is suggesting that in past years it might have been, an opportunity. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Glen Island, run by the county, would have been open. Other places and the pool clubs would have been open.
Right. I think it was just
many of them belong there.
You
So
do still have
Russ
two
is correct. This was the only game in town at that particular time. And I think we're going to have to put on our calendars for next year to watch that date, whatever it happens to be. And hopefully we're not going to have a repetition of that. So I know that we've gotten a lot of emails from residents wondering about the policy and complaining. But all in all, I think that aside from those two particular days, I think the modification of our policy seems to be working. We'll know better on July 4th, I think, if it's a nice day. But I think that's, we've weathered that particular storm. There may be others we don't know about, but I think that, you know, the main thing for us is to remain flexible. When we see a problem, alert the staff, obviously, modify our policies as necessary, and be flexible, knowing that if there's a major problem, we can call the Rye City Police, and on occasion, the Westchester County Police will come. Hopefully, it'll never come to that again. And the policies we're putting in place now will be successful. So, anything else, commissioners?
I've had a number of conversations with the interim city manager for the city of Rye, Greg Usry, and also with Safety Commissioner Falk to arrange a meeting between Rye Police Department's youth officer and our rangers and senior staff, so we can get our heads together with regard to properly responding to teenagers, these kinds of things in the future, and what kind of processes to follow, so that we're a little bit more enlightened the next time and prepared.
Fritz is talking, he's muted. Fritz, you're muted.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Yeah, I just, with regard to some of the changes in the regulations, I just want to be clear. On children under 16 years of age must be accompanied by an adult who is responsible for their behavior at the facilities. Now we're asking that they must be accompanied by chaperones at least 25 years of age. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Okay. I received some calls over the weekend that students over the age of 16 were told they couldn't come into the beach. Is that the case? I did get calls on that at home. And I said, geez, I know it's 16 years of age needs, but they were older than 16. They're high school students, maybe 17, 18. And they were told they couldn't come onto the beach. Is that factual? I mean, these are the calls I got.
Yes, it is factual, Fritz. We did that on Sunday with an understanding that anybody under the age of 18 to the temporary weekend would need an adult with them.
But that's
a
not
number
our,
we want to discuss. Senior staff talked about it a lot today was the number. 16-year-olds were the major problem we've had over the weekend. And on Tuesday, with the 16 and 17-year-olds being dropped off in droves and being able to pay to get in on their own. And that seems to be our biggest problem, even in the past. Mike, do you want to say a little bit about this?
but Vic, if I may, that's not what our regulations say. So if we're telling people 16 and you're saying now it's different than 16,
Fritz,
to change it if that's what the staff is recommending.
Let me jump into that.
I'm getting calls, Gary.
I don't doubt it. You're right. The policy has always been 16. If you'll recall, last year there was a request to move it down to 14, but the Department of Health regulations provided for 16. The staff, because of the situation over the weekend, determined that they didn't want people under 18 at that time. We discussed it at length, and we had a meeting. The staff, Debbie has a staff meeting every week, and I was in attendance, and my position is that the age should be 16 and not 18. And that's why you'll see in the regulation that is proposed that the age is in fact 16 and not 18. So that 18 was an aberration.
Okay, just isolated over that weekend because of the situation. Okay, because people picked up the phone.
Understandably. It was a reaction from the staff to control the situation.
Okay, no, that's understandable.
Right.
I just want to make sure that if it's 16, it's 16, and with the chaperone, that's fine with me.
Yeah, and the thing that I did agree with was making sure that the age of the chaperone was 25, so that we have a more mature person helping to regulate, because the problem is going to be mostly the 16 and 17 years old. And a 21-year-old, the staff felt, and I agree, may not be able to control 16 and 17-year-olds if they have 3 or 4 of them. So the age for the chaperone is 25, which is the age that people can rent a car.
But 16 years old is okay to go to the beach without a chaperone.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. Because this way I can answer these people that called me. The other thing that's most concerning to me, and I don't know how this happened, maybe I missed the meeting when this was adopted, was the sale of alcohol by Barley, over by the Middle Beach. I don't ever remember, at least at a meeting I attended, approving that. I knew they were talking about going onto the sand and in their establishment, but how did that come about?
The alcohol, the change in the alcohol policy was by the state liquor authority.
I don't get that one, Deb. Please,
When the COVID regulations came down and they were permitting takeout from restaurants, the state liquor authority also permitted takeout of alcohol.
I didn't hear that one.
It's still not allowed on the beach, Fritz. Alcohol is not allowed on the beach. And
I'm seeing that. Now, where do we stand, if I may, just follow up on this point? Where do we stand? What's our regulations as far as alcohol in the park and at the beach? So
no alcohol on the beach at all.
Okay.
If I may, last year the commission agreed to allow the Barley Beach House to have an enclosed area on the beach.
Right.
That would be guarded by a bouncer and clearly delineated. And a liquor license has been obtained according to those parameters.
But that's to stay in that area that we designated.
Yes,
Yeah.
No liquor is to leave that area. I just wanted
Right,
to go over these again,
Right
because it's last year.
that is correct, and that has not yet been put into effect.
Okay, but when it is, the liquor will stay in the area that we designated. I remember them coming with a map and showing us, and we
Right.
were talking about it.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to, as we get into the July 4th week, and if they open up, I want to know what we're up against.
They're also
So it's
serving
only the-
alcohol in
I'm
the
sorry?
pavilion. Fritz, they're serving alcohol. They're going to be serving alcohol in the pavilion at their tables under the pavilion.
At the pavilion.
Yeah, they just applied to the SLA for the, the SLA is obviously relaxing all these rules and allowing restaurants to serve outside completely, including alcohol.
Now, let me ask you a question, Jeff. Is that something that has to go through the commission, or is that just it's a foregone conclusion that they could do this?
The SLA is allowing restaurants, because of the situation, because all of this outdoor dining, to basically expand their liquor license fees. If you want a commission vote, you can,
I know.
If I may, please, the policy of alcohol on the park has been consistent for decades, and alcohol has been permitted in the park.
I know.
Again, Gary, I know specific parties, and I've attended them, where there is beer sold, under the pavilion. Not sold, but part of the party, not sold. It's, you pay for a ticket, and then the party serves beer or whatever, wine. I saw wine on tables also. But now you're expanding the operations of the barley house onto the pavilion and all over the place. I'm concerned about that. I really am.
It's a,
If I can jump in there, I just don't want to lump us into any problems from the young kids that have brought alcohol onto the beach or smuggled alcohol onto the beach. We've made sure to serve alcohol in a very responsible way, and all of our servers are tip certified. They know how to spot someone who's had too much. We've worked closely with the staff there to make sure there's no issues. As far as I know, there's been no issues with anyone we've served. So I just don't want to lump us into the same conversation as, the guys that are jumping over, beach barricades and getting dropped off and stuff. These are two totally separate conversations. So we haven't had any issues with over serving, or, we're doing it in a very responsible way, where if someone wants to enjoy a cold drink, it's not all over the place. It's in a confined area. And, I just don't want to get lumped into that whole problem last week.
Can you explain to me what you're going to be doing under the pavilions with this, that you applied for the SLA?
Yeah,
you're going to set up a bar under there? Is that your intent?
Yeah, and even saying bar, we look at it more as like a service station to be able to service the tables. But, we want to be able to have a quick service setup for people to order the pizza, lobster roll, hot dog, and, a choice of one or two different beers and a couple different mixed drinks, to keep it in the pavilion and be able to be able to police it and monitor it versus, it just being all over the place. Like you mentioned, all over the place. It's not, we're not serving
Bobby,
all over the place. We're serving. Yeah.
Bobby, can someone walk up to your window, order a drink, and wander off and go sit on the grass?
Yes.
But they can't, Josh, they can't go on the beach. Let's review one thing. The policy of the commission has always been to permit alcohol in the park. And the thought was people will maybe picnic, they'll bring wine, picnic lunch or dinner, and enjoy it. I don't think that we've had any record of alcohol abuse in the park area, unlike the beach area. There is a definite prohibition of alcohol on the beach, and we've revised the beach rules to make that absolutely positively clear. And I agree with Bobby that the problem that we had with the kids had nothing to do with the restaurant. They weren't getting the alcohol from the restaurant. They were bringing it in. They had backpacks, they had coolers, God knows what. And it's a totally different problem than, the alcohol on the beach, the alcohol with the kids, than the Barley Beach House. I don't see any problems that we've had with the Barley Beach House and alcohol since they've been there.
Okay.
And I don't see any problems that we've had in the park. I think our focus has to be on alcohol on the beach and the people that bring it in coolers and backpacks and any other ways that they do it. They sneak it in. And that's where the problem.
Gary, I understand exactly where, the Barley people are coming from and not trying to tie it into what happened with these youngsters that were carrying it in backpacks and wherever, like you said. But I'm just trying to understand the impact that everything's going to have on the beach. So now, as far as Barley is concerned, they're going to be set, is their locations for liquor or whatever, if it's a beer or a couple of mixed drinks, are going to be at Middle Beach, under the pavilion, on the sand, and in the restaurant, correct? Is that what you're anticipating?
Yeah, I think when they get, first of all, when the restaurant is permitted to open inside, we may not be permitting any longer the operation in the pavilion. And the State Liquor Authority may not permit that. That's to be seen. We're dealing with a situation for the next 3 weeks or so where they're going to be operating in the pavilion. I don't believe they're going to be operating on the sand as yet. And I think we'll deal with that situation when it comes up.
So my question, Gary, is the tables that are presently in the restaurant, he's going to be moving or renting tables or rather and setting them up under the pavilion and having it like a restaurant atmosphere that he has in his enclosed area. He's going to be operating in the same way. I'm just trying to understand what happened because I haven't been down there.
You'd have to ask him that, Bobby.
Yeah, well, he's going to.
I don't know if you're moving the tables or bringing new tables.
Yeah.
I like to know what's going to happen. That's all.
I would too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we want to have the table set up there and that enclosed space under the pavilion, almost as an extension of the restaurant, to be able to serve hot dogs, lobster rolls, the wood-fired pizzas, and drinks. And we're obtaining all the necessary permits to do so. And to go back to the beach part, we should have our permit for that in the next 2 or 3 days. And again, it's all been discussed. It's going to be done in a responsible manner. I mean, I want you guys to know that we're genuinely not trying to promote like riffraff or any of that. We just want it to be those rental chairs we have set up like 2 at a time, 6 feet apart from everybody, a nice chair, 2 nice tables, and we're open to criticism. We're open to if there's any issues. I think everyone in the park knows they can come talk to us directly. We have a huge staff of responsible managers that are really addressing every concern as they come up. And, we want to be good partners, tenants, whatever it is that we are, and just work with everyone. We don't want irresponsible drinking. We don't want that for our own liability. So we certainly don't want it for the park's reputation or liability as well. So
we agree.
In our 3 places, we don't have that issue. So it's not.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I know what's going on with all of the restaurants that been suffering over the last 3 months, that they're asking for outside permits. I've gotten a slew of calls on that from our village, which we are, having, giving permits without a fee, and, whether it's Saltaire or any of the other Albas are out in their parking lot. So I understand what's happening. I'm just, being very careful. And because of the situation that happened, I know Barley House runs a good operation there. I've been there. I just want to raise a little concern that just be careful when you're alcohol and these.
All of our employees are required to take a tip certified. It's the spot alcohol abuse. It's the spot. When someone starts, having too much, it's how to properly handle a situation. So we do take it very seriously. Everyone requires, proper training in that area, and we do take it serious. So
I think we'll see how it goes. I have a lot of confidence that the Barley Beach House is going to operate properly and without problem. And if that's not true, we'll address it.
yeah, please let us know.
Our concern remains alcohol being smuggled on the beach with backpacks and coolers.
Yeah.
So then the staff, Russ can explain better than I, but the staff will be setting tables up and examining all backpacks, coolers, anything that can have alcohol. It's going to have to pass inspection before it gets on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Correct.
I think Michael Cassell would like to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say that, we do have a zero tolerance for alcohol on the beach. The security staff has been working diligently, even as early as April when we started coming in with the security team. And we've always had that zero tolerance with the beach. And I've been there for 4 years, and we've always had a zero tolerance. Barley Beach House has been great with us. Barley Beach House did have nothing to do with what happened in the past week in regards to these kids. These kids was an isolated incident. We do have tables on all entry points. The security staff constantly removes alcohol from minors, and from the adults, they kindly put it back in their cars. As far as the alcohol that got into the beach on Friday, on June 12th, that alcohol was thrown over where the pavilion area is in backpacks. They literally just threw the bags over the fences and had their friends downstairs pick it up. And we were able to confiscate a lot of alcohol on Friday in regards to what had happened. But I just want to say, we do have a zero tolerance on that beach for alcohol, and every day we work on it.
Thank you. Gary, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the Barley House. Like I said, I've been to the establishment. I know they do an outstanding job there. I just kind of put up these warning signs because I get very
absolutely
concerned.
Fritz, look, we're all elected officials,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you probably more than anybody, but you and Josh especially will be getting calls from residents asking about what the policy is.
Right.
And you guys have to know what the policy is so you can explain to your constituents exactly what it is.
Well,
I know the worst thing for an elected official is when a constituent calls and the elected official says, I don't know. And then they say, well, you're supposed to know. So,
well, that's true. And
right?
that's why I'm trying to get a feel
We
for
all
what's
get
going on down there. Unfortunately, I love to go down to the beach and walk around, but with this COVID-19, I've been very careful. So I'm trying to get a feel of the playing field over there as to what's going to happen in case I do get these calls and say, well, it is Barley House doing it under the pavilion. And, it's an extension of their restaurant. They're permitted to do so under the SLA. Right. So you have all the answers, especially the one with the child that was 17 said they couldn't go on the beach. That was only for that incident. So this meeting, I'm getting a lot of my answers for the questions I've been asked.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Our only issues with the 16 and 17 years old is if we are unable to verify their age, meaning the carrying of an identification. There are times that we do have a 16 or 17-year-old, and we're unable to verify their age due to not having identification on their person. And that's where we have to make a decision. And it's a tough decision because we don't want to turn no one away. That shouldn't be turned away. But at the same time, we don't want to let someone in that states they're 16, 17, and meanwhile, they're 15. And
you have liability but you have a liability if you let them in. Usually, if you go and you get carded at a local bar and you don't have the proper identification, they don't let you in.
What we spoke about this morning, Fritz,
Yeah.
at the staff meeting
Yeah.
was posting signs that say proof identification may be required, so that the staff can ask somebody how old they are. They're obviously not going to ask somebody like you or me. You know, they were old enough, but we're going to post that they may ask for identification.
Well, you're gonna
Remember,
need it.
most of these kids that are 16 have driver's license or at least driving permits, so they should have ID available.
Well, let me ask you a question, Gary. That 16-year-old that comes, or 4 16-year-olds that come in, and the girl looks like she's 22, you're gonna ask her for her license to make sure she's 25?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're asking there, you gotta ask the same thing for
Absolutely.
getting onto the beach
Of
when
course.
somebody doesn't have an ID.
Yeah.
Of course.
Bringing something in, you know. The same thing plays out.
Once everybody gets the idea that the ID may be required, then they'll get in the habit of bringing ID with them. I mean, you know, every woman in the world travels. They all have a bag with their stuff in it. Guys may be a little different with their shorts. They may say, I don't want to carry it. But most people have ID of some kind with them to say, this is how old I am.
One of the additions to the beach rules that we've proposed specifically says that visitors may be required to show proof of age.
That's what I just said, right.
Especially if they're chaperones for 4 16-year-olds.
That's a for sure.
I have something to say. We get the permit holder, 16-year-old with her parents' permit, and she has 3 of her girlfriends with her and expects to get them in with that permit. That shouldn't happen.
No.
But we're getting that.
Well, the permit holder has to have their pictures in the system, and if they're not in the system, they don't get in. What the rule is.
You know, I'm seeing a comment from Jamie Jensen, who's a neighbor of the park, as you all know, and she asked the question, so a 21-year-old caregiver cannot bring 2 10-year-old children to the beach for the day. They are lucky to have a job, but they can't take them to the beach?
That's the rule we set. I mean, if the commissioners feel differently about that, then you know, we could change it from 25 to back to 21. But we want mature people to be on the beach, taking care of people.
Yeah, I think the problem is we've had 2 different examples stated as we've talked about this rule. We've talked about who's old enough to keep 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds behaving properly versus who's capable of keeping 10-year-olds behaving properly.
You're right.
And
Josh, you're absolutely right. I don't know that I know the answer. Right now, we're worried about the 16 and 17-year-olds. I don't know. I mean, is it a possibility? Does the commission want to say that if you're over a certain age, for example, if you pick the age, if you're a 13 to 18-year-old, you have to have somebody over 25. If you're under 13, you're going to have somebody 21. Does that make sense?
13 seems like a little young. I'd make it maybe 14 or even 15. I don't know, personally.
yeah, I'd go to 14, but are we going to be able to check the ages of the kids? That's getting to be a lot of age checking we're doing.
It is. It is.
The thing,
And 14.
Gary, the thing you wanted was responsibility, right? Who's
Correct.
responsible? So I think you may be able to get at it if you have under 25-year-old persons of responsibility, maybe the park wants to do something like have that category of caregiver, responsible person register, and then behind them stands a contact the parent, right? That we can find the connection to the responsible person to hold someone responsible. For
First of all, if you're 25, you may be a parent.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure that that's common. What Jamie is referring to is, you know, the college kid, the post-college kid, or the college kid who's out of college, who's home and has a rare. It's a valid point. You know, those jobs are few and far between. So they got this babysitting job. They need a place to take the kids to the park. They need a place to take the kids, right? So, but what we're saying is a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old, you know, an 18 to 25-year-old is really not as responsible as someone over 25. And I'm saying, okay, well, maybe we can have those kind of caregivers, you know, kind of just sign up at the park, and there's a parent behind them who's vouched for them, and we've got someone now to.
Right now, I think that's a little bit too much signing up.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I like the idea of a 21-year-old being able to be responsible for somebody 14 and under, and that 14 and under is probably not going to have ID because they don't drive. And maybe the answer is 15 and under, but if you're 16 and 17, then you have to have a 25-year-old. How does that sound?
It sounds pretty complicated for the staff to, for the public to understand and the staff to implement. However, it's a pretty simple matter that permit holders can register a babysitter between the ages of 20 and 25.
So then we have the permit holder to hold responsible. If the kids get out of control, now we got somebody to call, or ultimately a permit to revoke.
Yeah. That sounds good.
That sounds reasonable.
Commissioners?
Senior staff, you want to weigh in here?
Jason, your hand is up. Jason.
Oh, I was giving a thumbs up. I think that sounds very reasonable because it's not overburdensome on the permit holder to just register a caregiver for their, and that way you're also limiting, because you're really looking to limit the number of people who might, abuse their right to be there by causing a scene. But I guess the hope is that if you have you're there with children, you're not going to be. And certainly if it was my kids, I would want to know if that person was, bringing alcohol onto the beach illegally and they were watching my kids.
Yeah. All right. Benny, you're shaking your head. Thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay. Another problem solved. Thank you, Jamie. All right. Any other items to be raised? If not,
Emily.
Yeah, I'm raising my hand. I should just.
Nope, you're not on my screen. You're on the other screen. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Just parking. Can we go over the way that played out?
Could you repeat that one more time, please, Emily?
Parking. I just want to hear what happened after we had our discussion and how that worked. I did get a couple of texts from residents upset about parking on the grass, which I know we're going to get. But is that something we're seeing every day? What's going on with parking?
Russ, you want to take this?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to unmute. The answer to your question is, I don't believe we've seen parking, overflow parking on the grass for permit holders during the week yet. However, I believe that we probably will. We need to, my instructions to the staff are that we need to be prepared 7 days a week for the first 300 spots to fill up in the paved and gravel area, and we need to be prepared to let permit holders park in overflow parking. So I don't think we've seen it yet. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've seen it during the week yet, but.
No, not yet.
Not yet, but I certainly expect once school is officially out and it really starts to heat up. Right now, we've had some gorgeous days on here, but it's been in the mid to upper 70s, low 80s some days and stuff. But once it starts to heat up, I expect that it could happen on a Tuesday or a Wednesday just as much as it could happen on a Saturday and Sunday.
Fritz, you're muted.
Yeah. Are we talked about a specific number of spots that we would allow in that overflow, right? Is that what we decided in the end?
Not to my understanding. It was just it was just limited to a certain group, a subset of people, and they are permit holders.
What do we think our maximum capacity on the grass is?
In that area, between 140 and 160.
So we are limiting ourselves to what you referred to as that area, Russ?
Yeah, for the time being. Yep.
So, Russ, Fritz.
Yes.
So we got 300 on the gravel area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how many were you allowing on the grass area? 100 and.
Fritz, it's not an exact science, but it's somewhere between 140 and 160. So, and again, it's just permit holders.
So overall, we're saying we're allowing approximately 500 cars to come in on a beautiful day in July.
Okay.
But
I would say,
fair to say?
I would say, Fritz,
Is that fair to say?
I would say that's a maybe. Because first, I would say it's a maybe. Frankly, I think it's a bit unlikely because the only ones that would be parking there would be permit holders. And that's after the lot is full. So I don't know that you're going to be dealing in anything like those numbers. On the busy days, how many people have we had parking on the grass so far under the permit holder only rule?
I don't know the exact, how many, 3 or 4 rows? Go ahead.
We have 70 cars.
70.
So I counted around 70 to the max. Right. 70 we counted.
So that's a far cry from 200.
And
yes.
Debbie, how many permits did we sell so far?
About 2,000. There's a chart in your management report. Okay. Of those 2,000, 200 of them are open water swim only, and then I don't know, about probably another 50 are beach only. So those are people who wouldn't park at all.
So maybe about, let's estimate 1,600 are permit holders. Okay, and we're saying, we're saying we only have like 500 spots, 500 approximately spots. Good day, you're going to run into a problem.
But if
they're all come at one time.
Pick up on that, we're working backwards from a number based upon the COVID regulations and the governor's executive order. The limitation of parking on the grass has nothing to do with what people don't want to see. It's basically working backwards on when we get a population in the park and the beach that is no longer within the regulations and guidelines, then we stop the parking on the grass. There's always a constituency out there that does not want to see parking on the grass. This commission has not agreed to not parking on the grass. We've had this discussion multiple times, and I don't want to see this become a backdoor way where we give in to those folks who don't want to see cars parked on the grass. This is not the opportunity to grasp, because that's not what this is about. In my view, we're trying to limit the number of cars in the facility so that we can limit the population on the park and the beach. That's it.
Right. Benny,
agree.
The first thing is the population. The second thing is the parking. If we can accommodate parking on the grass, by all means, let's accommodate that, because as long as we don't extend, we have a plan, and Russ and I talked about it. We have a plan that outlines where parking on the grass is allowed and has been allowed by this commission. That hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is that we don't want a heavy population.
Right. Well, and I think with respect to parking on the grass, part of my concern about it is parking, just like the beach, it's being more heavily used now than ever before. And we want to encourage people to socially distance. And if we're taking up, I know we've defined the space for parking in the grass.
Right.
I mean, the more, I don't want to see people's, opportunity to walk through the park denied because they're using it as a parking lot. It's a park, right? I mean, and I know, I think that you're right. This isn't about changing the rules about the grass because people don't want to see parking on the grass at this point. It's about, for me, it's about managing the park so that everybody can have space and be safe, and we can get as many people that opportunity as possible.
Yeah, we have to strike a balance. We've got our permit holders, and we want to make sure that our permit holders are accommodated, or at least enough of them, so that we're satisfying that population. There are other park users as well who come to the park and, as Emily puts it, are hoping to find a park and not a parking lot.
Look, I just want to say that last year, the lot adjacent to the pond was open without restriction for the entire season. And with the exception of Memorial Day weekend, where we just we had more people than we anticipated, no permit holder was turned away at any time on any day from parking last year.
Yeah, and we want to do that again this year. And last year we had parking on the grass by people who did not have permits. Correct, Russ?
Correct.
Okay. This year it's limited to people who have permits, and only after the lot is completely full.
Correct.
So the chance that we're going to have far less parking on the grass this year than we did last year. And once again, the limiting factor is that the staff is going to keep a limit on the number of people on the beach. So if the beach gets too crowded, we're not going to allow anybody else in the lot anyway. Or if they get on the lot, they're going to have to wait to get on the beach. That
Right.
we're going to have to wait to see. I don't think we've had that quite yet. But it's trial and error. We're
under the new plan of permit holders only into overflow parking, I think it's my personal opinion that it's highly unlikely that we will ever reach the capacity.
I don't think we're even going to reach half capacity. I would be surprised if we got 100 cars there.
Well,
and probably less.
I'm just saying,
I
don't think the overflow. But look, if it turns out that we do, well, then we're gonna have to reassess. And it's such a fluid situation. I don't think we can make decisions in a vacuum here when we don't know what to expect. We can anticipate, and right now this is the consensus is this is the best approach at this moment. And let's see where we go.
It'll be trial and error. It'll be fluid. And we have to have confidence that the staff can make the proper decisions when the time comes. I have confidence that the staff will do so.
Yeah, I do too. Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
So in terms of our cutoff time, let's go over that one time, Russ, what we finally ended on for it's residents only until 11. Is that where we are still?
No, it's residents holders at noon. Sorry, Russ.
Okay, so Monday through Thursday, there are no restrictions. Friday through Sunday, it's permit holders and residents only up until noon. After noon, it's open to the public. As soon as the 300 spots, give or take, fill up on the paved and gravel lots, permit holders only will be permitted to overflow park. Is that clear?
Yes.
Emily?
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. I want to make sure you understood.
I know people are listening, so I just wanted.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate it.
All right.
that weekend rule, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing before noon has not been revoked, has not been rescinded. Where it continues in place.
All right. Can we move on then? We have a report from the Barley Beach House. I don't know, you may have given your report already, Bobby. Is that your report?
Hey guys, yeah, no. So all is going well. We appreciate the support we've gotten from the commission, just working with us, answering questions as needed. We've managed to get through a really, really tough season so far with limited resources. It's been nice to serve the pizza. We've gotten really good feedback from the pizza and the lobster rolls and the hot dogs and everything we're serving outside. So more so than our other restaurants, it's actually been bearable compared to the other restaurants. I think I mentioned a lot before where we're going to move that operation up to the pavilion, keep it out of the way. We actually met with the fire inspector earlier today, and he mentioned that he approved of our plan there, and he thinks it's a good idea to set it up that way, and give us a few reasons why. We'll have fire extinguishers and everything needed to make sure it's all up to code and done properly. Our liquor license should be in any day now for the beach bar. That will be done just as we discussed within the area we discussed, but now we'll add in the social distancing aspect to it. And that should be, I'd say in the next 10 days or so, we'd like to get that open, with all the parameters we discussed earlier. Other than that, we look forward to being able to open the inside of the restaurant. It looks like that's going to be a 50% capacity situation. So, we'll have limited seating inside, but it'll be nice to be able to offer that to the people that are looking for that. That's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
When do you think we'll be able to see the service at the beach side so that the patrons don't have to get off the beach to get something?
As far as food or?
Yeah, food and beverages, beachside.
Yeah, so that's actually Cuomo has a ban on it. So it's a statewide ban on, they call that a concession stand, so we're not technically able to open it. I think phase 3 where it looks like we'll be allowed to, which could be as soon as the 23rd, I believe.
So how do we differentiate a concession stand from a takeout location?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about that, and it's, we have it set up now so we could print a big QR code and people could pay for their entire order online. Like we could just have a big sign with a QR code. People can scan the QR code, pay for their whole order, whether it's chicken fingers and a hot dog and an ice cream, and then they would pay for it, and then we could make that a pickup window, and that would be kind of a workaround. But we found, even using the QR codes in the restaurant just this week, there's a big part of the population that doesn't really catch on to the QR code thing, and it's more of a nuisance, and it annoys them more than it helps. Where, as in our Thornwood location, it just became second nature. People sit down, they scan the QR code, it brings them to our menu, and then they order. There's been a little bit more pushback in the Rye location. So,
Well, I look at that, Mayor. I look at that as a conflict with, one of the things that I saw is that folks have to leave the beach to get onto the promenade, to get to the, to buy something, where if they didn't have to leave the beach, well, I understand that the line formation is a problem, but it might help when we can segregate the beachgoers and the patrons on the beach from having to come back off the beach and back and forth is what I'm.
I think, Benny, I think the problem there, as Bobby pointed out, is the governor's executive order. Several weeks ago, we had this discussion when the order first came out saying no concession on the beach. And Josh was on that call, and Debbie and I were on that call. And the county executive and county attorney opined that the difference was a concession on the beach is on the beach, but a takeout on the promenade is a takeout restaurant, just like any other restaurant in any other location in Westchester Avenue. So until that definition of concession on the beach is eliminated, we're going to have to live with what we have now. Hopefully, as Bobby alluded to, hopefully in phase 3, which may begin on June 23rd, we won't have that anymore. Hopefully, and then we'll get back to almost normal, except for indoor dining.
The basic point of the concession thing was they don't want people queuing up. You know,
Right. Well, we have the queuing, but that's my point. These rules they're in place for obviously good reason. However, the practicality of every situation and how the rules are applied. And I think the governor has basically said, sometimes you have to figure it out yourself. So when we talk about queuing problems, there is a queue, which is normal. People have to wait to get what they want, and if you looked at a percentage of the folks that are queuing in the current location that are coming from the beach, have that separated. I was just looking at it from a practical standpoint, not to suggest that, there should be a violation of the executive order, just that there's a reality check with, what is going on and habitually what people are, doing to wait online. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. We're really just hoping it comes down to as early as next week with phase 3.
That'd be great.
It'll be a non-issue, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Feedback. I mean, the Rye Moms group is loving Barley Beach House, and the pizzas have been a huge hit. And I feel like people feeling like they're, eating out, and on these nice days, everybody's really enjoying it. So thank you guys for figuring it out.
Oh, thank you guys for helping us along the way. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback ourselves, and we've been happy to be able to do it. So.
Bobby, did you discuss the renovations at the North Gate?
Yeah, so the because of all this positive feedback, we had a custom-made pizza oven built for us, a permanent one, and that's currently in place. And we're just finishing up, really just cleaning up right now. And that, pending a couple inspections, that should be ready to go whenever the concession, the same as the beach concession, I'm sure.
Are you talking about the North Gate, or are you talking about the main?
The North
Okay.
Gate, yes. Yeah, so that's, we addressed all those small concerns we had down there, and all the plumbing is up to date, all the electric, it's all up to date, and we've had professionals take a look at it, and everything's ready to go. So we'll be ready to go as soon as the governor's executive order is lifted. So.
Okay. Is that it? It's 7:15. We have a town council meeting at 7:30, and Benny's advised me that he's got to leave at 7:25. So the only item left on the agenda is a public comment. So before we get to public comment, is there anything else from the commission?
Yeah, Gary, with respect to the financial statement, I'm going to ask city staff to look. I know that there was a discussion between staffs about how taxes should be represented, and we're just going to follow through and see if that's been given effect in the financial statement.
Okay.
So the financial statement in the agenda right now is only covers April. Josh, I expect the May financial statement any day now. I'll make sure to forward that to Greg and Joe Fazzino.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Gary, do we have a plan to correct the problem with the railing? I saw the report on that. I was there as well. That section of railing that failed, and are we gonna go through the entire season with that section taped off, corner off from public?
Well, the answer to that, Benny, is that, as you know, that the structural engineer looked at it and we're compiling bid specifications. I spoke to Lisa Easton as to what kind of a railing would be appropriate, because we may be able to just temporarily repair that section.
Okay.
But the answer is to replace the entire railing from from the street side all the way to the Barley Beach House. And I spoke with Lisa, and James Nattarelli spoke with her, because basically what we're going to end up doing is installing the same railing there that we're putting on the ramps, which are immediately below, so that there will be no problem with the historic relevance, and they will be matching. But that will be a capital project, and we'll be going forward with that, and hopefully we'll have some answers by the next meeting. Debbie, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm waiting for specifications from the architect, and then we'll go out to bid immediately.
Do we get any insurance adjustment on that? Anything from our insurance carrier to help offset the cost for repairs?
I think he's still examining documents and photos.
Okay. No Sandy leftover money from Sandy?
By the way, Benny, you are not the first. You are not the first to ask that question. And when the question came up, I said, the problem is that the state and FEMA are closing out their Sandy projects, and I don't think that they're going to want to open up a new one. And not that it was caused by Sandy anyway.
Understood.
All right. All right. If there's nothing else, we have public comment on non-agenda items. Do you have anything, Debbie, coming in?
I don't, everything has been on agenda items, frankly. So I don't see anything. Sarah, do you see anything that I should be aware of?
No, there are no comments on Facebook right now at this time.
Okay. I've shared pretty much no comments. There's Holly Duncan volunteered that Rye Golf Club has been registering caregivers for years, or at least they used to. So everything's been on point.
All right, very good. Thank you all. May I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, before we do that, I don't know what next month's meeting is going to involve. It's scheduled for July 21st, and there is a possibility that we will meet in person. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know if we will have permission to continue these meetings or not. We will await the governor's determination later. I know, and Josh and Debbie are well aware that this has been a matter of discussion at our county leadership meeting that we have twice a month, and we're waiting for further guidance from the governor's office. So we may be meeting in person, or we may not on July 21st.
If the weather's good, Gary, let's meet out under the pavilion at the beach.
That's fine with
the best
me.
of it.
With lobster rolls, with lobster rolls and drinks.
Lobster rolls, and by the way, if we did that,
We'll have a lot.
We will have a very pleasant meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Do it at the beach. We'll have a lot of participation.
A lot of we'll have a lot of members of the public in person.
Why not?
Absolutely. Okay, with that, and Jason, thank you again for standing in for Paul. Very much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Okay, and a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
See you on July 21st, one way or the other.
Thank you.
Bye-bye all.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night all.
Thanks.